is the tech that you are looking at right now, the thing that's keeping you up, the problem you are trying to solve with you as a venture capitalist?
I guess the thing that maybe everybody wants is to shift the healthcare ecosystem from reactive to proactive. And there's a lot of steps along the way to make that possible. And arguably people have overshot that a little bit. But I think what's really important is how can you get really accurate, high signal, minimally invasive diagnostics that give you real insights into early stages of actual diseases that can get you into the healthcare system earlier in a more treatable fashion. And so I'm not really personally a huge fan of data for data's sake as much as, hey, this is early stage, cancer of this form with a minimally invasive fashion, you need to do something about it. Or, here's a minimally invasive alternative, like lightweight CGM alternative or something that can surface real biomarkers, that can change your lifestyle, that can give you behavioral feedback, and modify it so that, the overall impact to the healthcare system is lower. And sorry for going too long here, but, one of the lenses I personally use is what is the cost of the data to the healthcare system, not to you personally, but in the aggregate of the system that you're implementing. If you are introducing more total cost than you're saving, then it's not really a net positive. And so, to pick on, I guess I won't say the companies, but like if you're sending people to MRIs to get them early stage, low fidelity detection of potential cancers, but this sends them on these medical odysseys that in turn creates a lot of cost to the healthcare ecosystem, takes a lot of resources out of the healthcare system. While it may make certain people feel good, it's low signal, high noise, high cost. It doesn't really do that objective.
And for David, what are you seeing? We have a room full of investors. What's on your radar? Because investors like to get ahead of the rest of us. So what is the sort of tech or problem you are trying to solve these days?
I think you can't go to any type of conference without there being some discussion about AI, and obviously there's a lot of interest in it. A lot of people feel that it can transform the world, but a lot of the applications today are very focused on just improving operational efficiencies. What we can envision is maybe we plan ahead or look ahead are AI being applied to solve problems that are really difficult to solve. From a healthcare perspective, I'll share with you a couple of really tough problems. The rising cost of healthcare and access to affordable healthcare. These are things that we have struggled trying to solve. How could AI potentially address that? Well, back to what we just talked about earlier. Can you become more proactive? Can you identify individuals before they actually get sick? Turns out that 5% of the population is responsible for 50% of the overall cost of care, 20% for 80%. So if we could actually find that 5% before they actually have the heart attack, the stroke, and all the different things that ultimately cause a cascading element of rising costs, we could actually do something significant. But how do you find them? Because you have to rely on them to actually come in and you have to do screenings. Well, AI actually has an ability to screen large populations in a very non-invasive way that would allow us to be able to do this across an entire population. So I'll give you a couple of examples. EKGs. We can run an EKG. It can do more than just simply determine an arrhythmia. It can determine whether or not you're actually going to die in the next 5 years from cardiovascular disease. Why is that important? Because if you know that and your clinician knows that, you'll be far more aggressive with your lifestyle behavior changes than you would if you had a lower risk. We also know that you can diagnose valvular disease and a variety of other congenital heart diseases and other things that normally would require a doctor's visit. Looking through the eye, we actually have seen tremendous, is an area called oculomics, where you can actually identify not just eye disease, but diseases that are systemic, diabetes, diabetic retinopathy. In fact, we ran a program, and we're currently running programs across the country where we are now deploying this in low resource settings. In Texas, the first 50 patients in a rural clinic that came in, 1 out of every 5, 20% of them had advanced stage diabetic retinopathy requiring urgent evaluation. Their average hemoglobin A1C was 10.5%. These are individuals that have no idea that they are going to go blind in the next 3 to 5 years, and we're finding them and we're bringing them to care. If we can think about how we scale this type of an approach, it's extremely cost-efficient, is accessible, and it's something that could be applied broadly. And so we have great opportunities. AI can solve some extraordinary things, but we have to think creatively about how to deploy it.
One of the things I love about Kate's background is that, I've worked in top 30 global pharma as well. And what I loved about Kate's background and where she decided to go was we would be in meetings, patient centricity, and I'm like, well, you're not actually doing it. You're not following that, you're just spewing a tagline. Kate has jumped in from leading innovation initiatives to now looking at underserved health population. So through that lens, what are you doing in that space?
Yeah, I'm really glad that Eric and David went before me. Couldn't agree more with what they just said. What we're trying to do at HI Partners is actually spend more time with the practitioners that try and help the underserved and also the communities themselves. Because everyone's heard about social determinants of health, and if you can actually tackle those first, they're going to be more receptive to the new technology that is coming towards them. So we've been spending time trying to really understand if something was going to be put in front of you, what is it going to take for you to engage? And probably most in recovery, I think people have sort of missed the mark a little bit, but being able to use AI to do predictive analytics of what not only will get your drug approved, because what gets your drug approved at the FDA is a very different data set that you often need to then go out to the market and have a payer put your drug on formulary at a certain position. So if you can use predictive analytics to do the trial once, to get both the clinical outcomes, the safety outcomes, and the PROs, I think that's going to be better for everyone. You're going to tax the patients less, and patients get fatigue and they don't want to participate in clinical trials. And as Eric was saying, it's actually going to be a hell of a lot more impactful. So I thoroughly agree that's a great place for AI to be involved.
David had shared that sometimes it's AI, sometimes it's not AI. So I think in that whole continuum of drug development, there's a lot of efficiency to be gained by interoperability, how CROs and pharma companies and other providers and sites actually participate in the clinical trial process. I think there are data sharing opportunities on how to speed up recruitment in clinical trials so that you actually finish clinical trials on time and you get speed to market. So I think it's AI plus other things which kind of need to kind of fall into place for AI to really show the potential.